Okay, everybody, welcome to the Early Academic Researcher, supporting the student journey by promoting discovery and use of primary sources. With us, we have Etta Verma, a librarian and customer success manager at Infobase, where she works with clients to help them get the most out of their subscriptions. She's also co-author of a weekly crime fiction newsletter, First Clue, author of How to Get Your Book into Libraries, and an editor. Originally from Ireland, Etta now lives in New York City with her 2 children. And we've also got Lisa Hall, and Lisa came to Infobase Holdings via Credo, where she worked in training and customer success for over 10 years. Lisa attended Boston College and has an MLS from the University at Albany in New York.
That's right, SUNY Albany.
SUNY Albany. Yeah, anyway. Before working for Infobase and Credo, Lisa worked for a decade as a children's and young adult librarian in Massachusetts public libraries. So take it away.
Thank you so much. And hello, everybody, and thank you so much for coming. My name is Lisa. It's Lisa Hill with Etta Verma here. And we're going to bring you through, let me actually change the slides here. Our presentation today is called The Early Academic Researcher, Promoting the Discovery and Use of Primary Sources. So we get started here. When we first were dreaming up this topic, talking about primary sources and Infobase, we always kind of think back to the history of Infobase, and we're about 80 or 81 years old this year. We like to say we were born in facts, right? Facts and file, I'm sure a lot of you remember. We were originally founded or created as a competitor to Newsweek magazine back in 1941, where our editors and staff writers would write weekly summaries, write them down on sheets of paper, and clip them together and mail them off to libraries and educational institutions. I'm sure many of you that have been either library patrons for decades or librarians for decades probably remember those big blue binders that said facts on file on the corner. I remember them as a child going to the public library, and now here I am working for Infobase. I think we changed the name from Facts on File, but we are still grounded and based in facts. So even though we started back in 1941, we now offer digital resources, and we're not just news summaries anymore. We're so much more. So we hope to be a company that provides educational, fact-based background information, streaming video, courseware, for any type of learner, whether you are a preschooler or you are a post-grad or you are a retiree at the public library. Infobase wants to be a place where you can get educational, fact-based information. And tying Infobase to our presentation, Etta, do you want to talk about what we're going to be talking about today? You are muted.
Thank you. Today, the theme of your conference is using primary sources. So we thought we'd come on today and talk about the primary sources that you can find within Infobase. So our presentation is going to be in 2 parts. First, Lisa is going to talk about finding primary sources in the Infobase databases. Well, some of them that we have. We have various databases. Not all have primary sources, but several do. And Lisa is going to show you some of those. And then I'm going to take over and talk about a product we have called Credo InfoLit Core and show you how you could integrate primary sources that you find from us or elsewhere. Maybe you have a primary source repository at your library, or you could just use primary sources that you find online, and they could be integrated into the resource that I'm going to show you later on. All right, back to Lisa.
We have a handout as well.
Oh, right, thank you. Yes, thanks for the reminder. We'll leave you with a PDF that Lisa's going to give you the link for in the chat. And it is an assignment that we created that you can use with students who are learning how to use primary sources in their work. The assignment could be either a standalone item that's just about primary sources, or it could be one step in a bigger assignment where students have to find a primary source and then do other work. And, you know, our assignment will just be one part of that.
And I'm going to bring you through the InfoBase resources that contain primary sources. We have well over 10,000 primary sources in our list of resources. I'm going to just show you 3 different ways we put together primary source material and house them for you in our history resource, in our World News Digest, and in Credo Reference. Before handing off to Etta, when I was in college, before I got my MLS, I was one of those kids. I know that I'm speaking to librarians, so I feel safe in saying that I was one of the people that couldn't actually study in the library because I got too distracted by every book and every resource around me. So I'm a bit dangerous when it comes to databases demos, because I can just go down rabbit holes because I really enjoy the facts and the history found within them. So hopefully I'll make this pretty interesting for you. The first thing I'm going to show you is our history resources. I mentioned there are 3 ways kind of that we have primary sources in our content. The history resource is the most obvious. We have thousands of primary sources. We have history resources. You can either search them, all of them. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of our history resources listed here. It's a completely comprehensive overview of world history with a pretty serious focus on American history, from prehistory to current times. We're going to share, I think we actually already shared this actual presentation with you, but we can also drop it in the chat at the end. These all have live links if you want to learn more about any of these resources. So I'm going to bring you into one of the history databases to show you where to find the primary sources. I'm also going to talk about World News Digest, and this is my real weak spot because I do love this resource. This is the beginning of InfoBase. This is facts on file, the binders on the sheet. It's now online. So you can actually go back to 1941 and read about, contemporaneously written by our editors and writers, articles about news as it happened throughout history. It's a fantastic resource. Now we're actually aggregating in primary social media reactions as well, from all sides of the conversation, to make this sort of a really interesting news source, because we have a summary and then snippets of real-time reaction. So World News Digest not only contains primary source materials, but also is a primary source, as we have contemporaneous writing throughout history. And then lastly, I'm going to show you how to find specific primary sources in Credo Reference. Many of you subscribe to Credo Reference. I think a lot of you are familiar with it. One of the things about Credo Reference is we don't really tag our primary sources, but we do have books that are filled with primary sources. I'm just going to highlight one of those before handing off to Etta. So let me get out of this presentation, and then I'll open up one of our history resources just to get started. I'm using, for this demonstration, African American history. There are 5 history resources: African American, American Indian, American history in general, world history, and then ancient world history. So modern world history and ancient world history. So this is African American history. And you can see front and center, all of our history resources have this right at the front, primary sources. We're going to come back to that in a minute. I just want to give you a quick overview. Primary sources, we also have maps and graphs. Many of these maps and graphs were built in-house by our editorial team. Featured videos, slideshows, featured people, and then we break out the history into different eras and or specific subject groups within history. And within each of these subjects, you can filter by primary source and read some of this reference content, find videos and images related. So you can see that we always, I'll bring you to the home page where the primary source banner lives. You'll see if you go into any era within our history, we still have the primary sources filtered out for your students to find. So I'll just go back to home here, and I'm going to open up all of the primary sources available in African American history. So I'll click View All, and you'll see that we have 400 plus primary sources. You can scroll down, and then you can also filter your primary source by subject. So if I filter by abolitionist movement, you're going to see these 10 primary sources around the abolitionist movement. Whether it's laws or reviews of books, speeches, etc. Go back here. And I'll just open up. This is the, that's text from a Supreme Court decision. Now, all of our content have embed codes, have hyperlinks. Etta's going to be talking about that a little bit later on when going into the InfoLit product, because InfoLit, Information Literacy Core, we call it InfoLit in-house, is a great tool to take primary sources and put them into action and teach students exactly why and how they want to do that. So all of these contents will have full citations. You can see this is quite a long decision. In record URLs, easily shareable, and also a very long scroll, so I have to get to the top. You'll find this type of content in all of our history, but it's not just history resources where you'll find primary sources, but also in our news source, World News Digest, our original flagship product based back in 1940. So this is, you can see we're still writing news summaries, just as we were in 1941. As I scroll down the page, I always like to find something that isn't, unfortunately, news is all political, but I always like to find something that isn't terribly going to get anybody upset, but everything is so upsetting. So let's just say the UK, we'll talk about EU, I mean. So we'll click on that. So these contemporaneous summaries, so this was written on June 2nd by our editors. And then what we're going to do, and you'll find this throughout World News Digest, is we aggregate from Reuters news articles that relate to whatever it is that we are talking about. So we're talking about the EU ban on Russian oil. Something that we're doing now that we did not do back in 1941 is bring in social media reaction. And actually, you know what? Choosing a very political topic is a great example in this specific area, because I don't know who these people are. So let me go back and show you. There's an article about assault rifles bans, weapon bans, just the conversation around that, which is a very political topic, right? So when you look at, we're aggregating news articles from Reuters, but then the social media reaction here is just a great example of why World News Digest is such a neat resource, right? You have the first tweet is from the President of the United States, second one from the NRA. We don't offer any commentary. It's just different points of view from different individuals who are part of the conversation, right? So you have a Democratic governor of California, someone running for governor of Florida, a congresswoman, a very conservative congresswoman from Colorado, a kind of middle conservative, you know, and then far right, far left, and central. So it's a really neat little tool. But anyway, this is a product I get lost in, but I just wanted to show you the those primary sources, those contemporaneously written news stories. So if I click on Japan attacks Pearl Harbor, this is a news summary written in December 7th, 1941. And then when you scroll down here, you can see we're aggregating similar stories that relate from the news, but we have these summaries throughout history. So I can put in somebody's name, let me say like Neil Armstrong, right? The moon landing. And I can click, when I get to my results here, you see I have news articles about Neil Armstrong, the Reuters articles, and then we also have a filter for World News Digest, and those would be our contemporaneously written summaries from, you know, 2012 or 1969. So 2 picked to land on the moon, written by our team back in the day. But you can also, on my result page for Neil Armstrong, you can filter by primary sources here. And their speeches, their articles, contemporaneously written. Okay. So that is, in a nutshell, World News Digest. And now let's move over to Credo Reference. And this is, it's one of our our most popular resources here at InfoBase. I know a lot of you are familiar. We do not tag primary source materials in Credo Reference, but I just wanted to show you, if you are a Credo Reference subscriber, exactly where to find some of those primary sources. And for the most part, we have a number of speech books and quote books. So this, by the way, if you don't know what Credo Reference is, it is an aggregation of over 100 publishers offering like 800 to 1,400, or I guess I should say 1,500. We're almost at 1,500 full text encyclopedias, dictionaries, atlases, and over 80 subject areas. So the best way, the easiest way to find primary source documents is to actually look for the content by title. That will mention they have primary sources. So you can actually go to, for example, like quote books, which I should know where that is. That's not there. It's in language and literature. Yeah, quotations. So we have a number of quote books in here, but we also have a specific series of books. They're called milestones. So if I go to milestone, so you can go to the, if you click on the 3 lines here, click on all titles like I did, and then use this little title contains box and type in milestone. And we have milestone documents in African-American history, American leaders, or world religions. And that's just filled with primary sources. See? And you're welcome, by the way, to use our images for educational and research purposes. And of course, all of our content in InfoBase, Credo, History, or World News Digest will contain persistent links. With Credo Reference, you can embed articles directly onto a learning management system or a LibGuide as well, with full citations. So that's how you can use Credo Reference. I also want to mention, if I go back here and I just do a search on, Michelangelo, I always do Michelangelo. So if you've ever been in a demo of mine before, I apologize. I have no creativity when it comes to running searches. We also have well over 600,000 images from museums around the world. So if you are looking for original, undoctored images, if I click on that, we like to say that Credo can be an academic alternative to Google image search, because you can be certain that none of these images have been doctored. These images are free to be used by your students if you have a license with us. And everything has a citation. And again, hundreds of thousands of images. In this case, about Michelangelo. So you can open that up. This is from Milestone Documents of World Religions. That's one of the Milestone primary source books that I showed you. You get overview, context about the author, little timeline, explanations. You say explanations of the document, but they're talking about the image in this case. Then you have your options to share and cite and things like that. So that's what I wanted to bring you through, just show you the different ways you can find primary sources, and there's a number of resources that have them. Most of them are found in the history resources, World News Digest, and Credo Reference. So let me go here again, and then Etta, I'm going to hand off to you to talk a little bit about what to do once you have the primary sources.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. I even remembered to unmute this time. Hi, everybody. So I was going to move on now and talk about a resource that we have called Credo InfoLit Core. And overall, that resource covers, includes, about, I forget, over 100 anyway, videos, tutorials, and quizzes that are about information literacy. And it shows students, it starts with the very basics of when students come into community college first, or the first year of a 4-year school, and maybe they've only used Wikipedia and Google in the past, and they might not even be very good at using those. It starts at that kind of level, and talks to students through the videos and tutorials about how to start using an academic library, what you can find in the library, the different kinds of sources, including primary sources, how to sift among what you find to decide what's relevant to the topic that you're writing a paper about or writing a speech about or whatever your project is. So, okay, how to like sift among those, and then how to write the paper. There's not so much on writing. It is covered, but it's more about research. So there's a little bit on writing, and then how to write the citations in the various different styles that are out there. And we also have information on critical thinking and logic. But we're focusing on primary sources today. So let me go to the product, and I want to show you how you could include some of the items that Lisa showed in InfoLit Core for students.
Okay, hold on, Ed, I'm gonna stop sharing and
Oh,
give
yeah,
you screen sharing. Yep. So it's all yours. Go ahead.
Just a second, we didn't have the right screen. Okay, are you seeing InfoLit Core now, Lisa?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this is the product, and if you subscribe to it, this is the admin side that you would see. Students see whatever you send them links to. So whatever video or tutorial you decide to send, that's what students would see. And just like our other materials in Infobase, the links could be included in LMS, you know, Canvas, Blackboard, whatever you have. Also in LibGuides, and then just on regular websites or email to students or included in chat reference, let's say. And I want to show you the section on primary sources. So I'm scrolling down here. Here's all the material I talked about that's about various aspects of research. And in here, in sources of information, yes, I thought it was wrong for a second. Here is the material on primary sources as well as other types of sources. We have a video. Where's the video? Here, types of sources. I won't play the video because it sort of freezes over Zoom, but you could always get in touch with us for a trial if you wanted to have a look at it separately. So our videos are, I'll just play a tiny bit so we're not left with a blank screen here. All right, so our videos look like this. They're all animations and they're pretty short. This one is almost 4 minutes. They're generally 2 to 4 minutes, just because students don't have very much time for learning this type of thing. Mainly they need to spend their time on learning whatever their major is, right? So in classes, they don't have a lot of time to spend on information literacy. So we keep these pretty short as well, not to overwhelm their attention spans. And the videos have different features. There's audio that I just played as well. There is a transcript on the side that's downloadable. And I'm in the demo version now that doesn't have different languages, it only has English. But if you subscribe, you can get transcripts that are in English and Spanish using this. Oh, it is in the demo, sorry. So here's the Spanish version. You can add other languages too, and we would help you do that, but you would have to create the transcript in a different language that, you know, whatever language it is that is common among your students. So for out of the box, you just get English and Spanish. The audio is English only, but the transcript is English and Spanish. And you can play the video at different speeds. So it can be slowed down to 3/4 speed or speed it up. And you can also get closed captioning on the screen that will play along, just, excuse me, all for ADA compliance. And so that's the video that is about primary sources. Well, it's about all types of sources, including primary sources. And it describes to students what those sources are. So it tells them the primary sources are a primary source is an item that was created in the past, and that they would be able to use it to inform whatever research project it is that they're doing. And then that's the video I just showed. We also have a tutorial, and let me show you that. Our tutorials are text and videos combined together to teach some kind of lesson. So here's this tutorial. Sorry, it's not at the beginning. There's the first part, which is another video. This video covers identifying sources. So It's meant to sort of train students on how to know when they find a source, how do they know whether it's a primary, secondary, or a tertiary one. So let's say you have asked them in an assignment to include a primary source, and they found a source in the library or online, but they're not sure if it's a primary source or not. They could use this video to just become more aware of how to understand what type of item they have at hand. And then we have more text on it. So we textually, as well as the video, explain to them what a primary and secondary and tertiary source is. And then get into more depth on primary sources and the benefits of them. I read this yesterday to just get ready for this presentation, and it says that in a nutshell, it tells students that primary sources are useful if you need a view from the past where the person had a firsthand experience of whatever the topic is you want to discuss. And then it discusses secondary and tertiary sources and the benefits of those, like there's more analysis than in a primary source. And sometimes analysis is what's needed rather than a firsthand view. Let me just grab a drink. Excuse me. Okay, so this material is what you get out of the box in Credo InfoLit, and you also can edit the material to include your own primary sources that you might have found online or have at your library, or you can include items that are from the databases that Lisa just showed if you have subscriptions to those. So let me show you how to do how to make those changes. Before I forget to, we have a role here at InfoBase called Customer Success Manager, and I'm one of those. And that means, I think Sheila said it in the intro, I can help you with any aspect of your database use. And I'm the person assigned to work with customers in Georgia. So if you do have any questions about what we got through today, or just usage of your InfoBase resources in general, I'm the one to contact, and my contact information will be on a slide at the end of this presentation. Okay, so going back to the presentation itself, let's pretend that you have a source let me just go back to the primary source section here. Okay, so here's the introduction to primary sources. And you have something that you want to tell students in addition to what's here, or you want to change the information that's here so that it's more relevant to your library. For whatever reason, you can change the material and everyone at your school will see the change. So you go into here where it says edit. And now you see that it looks like Word or WordPress where you can type. So you could change the text here. You think the wording is not quite right for your students, you can go, just highlight something and make a change. You could add more paragraphs. You could add a different image. You might want to add an image of an actual primary source rather than our animation here. That's all possible to do. And you can add links. And that's what I'm going to show you right now. I have Credo open here. Can you see Credo now, Lisa? Okay, thank you. So here's one of the items that Lisa showed before. It's one of those milestone documents books that include primary sources. And here's the table of contents. So I'm just going to open the first one. Oh, it's a letter. I was actually thinking when Lisa was talking about how we don't have primaries, we don't have social media from a long time ago. We do, but they're letters. So here's the letter, John Rolfe's letter to Sir Edmund Sandys. And to get a link to that to include in anywhere, including Credo InfoLit Core, you go to here where it says page link. And then copy that. And now I'm going back to InfoLit Core. And you just, type whatever you want to type. Please see. Oops. And there's the link. Oh, wait, I need to make the link live. Just use this one instead. Sorry, this is a bit scattered. I lost my sharing screen. Okay, here we go. Is this link with the live one? So there's the link. Now it's blue, so it'll work. And I'm going to save. And now if you had this product live for your students, everyone who has a link to this item would see the new edition here. And they could go in and click on it and get right to that, book. Sorry. And the same applies with the other items that Lisa showed you, World News Digest and African American History. Any material that you find within one of our databases has a link, and you can include it into Credo InfoLit Core. And you can also make your own material. So let me go back there and show you. Here. At the end of each item in Credo InfoLit Core, there are these green buttons that you see here. And just move my Zoom controls. They offer ways to include different types of material that you find or you create. So let's say, for example, you have made a video that's about primary sources at your library. You can include that here using this button. You would just need the embed code from the video. And you can also include a problem, which is a quiz. An open response, that's where if you want students to write like a short essay, they would just get a blank box to type in. This is just a blank box that you can type in. So you would get a box like this, only a frame like this, only blank. And you could paste in material that you've written about primary sources, let's say, or type in whatever you want into that box for students to see. And then we have this advanced option here, which is a combination of the others. So you might add your video about primary sources and then follow it by a quiz, just for example's sake. Let me go back here. What else did I want to show you? Oh yes, when in here, just move these Zoom controls again. We have a list of versions option here. So if you subscribe to Credo InfoLit Core and you make changes, you don't have to be worried that they're permanent, and you might make a mistake. You can always go back. So if you use this option here, you would be able to go back to the version that we gave you out of the box, or you could go back to previous versions that you created. That's up to you. Let me go back to the table of contents and show you a little more about making changes. Sorry, it's a little bit slow. This is, again, the editing interface. And so we wanted to talk today about how you can sort of do your own thing in here. And if you do create new material about primary sources or anything, you can have it where you want in the course. So this is the entire course that I showed before, just the editing version of it. And, it goes through all those topics, starting with the beginning of research right through to writing citations and critical thinking. And you could include your material on primary sources at any point in here. The items are movable. So if this is a video about life in the information age, we'll just pretend it's your primary source item that you've created. Right next to it, there's a little option to drag and drop. So if you created an article or a video or what have you on primary sources, and you thought that it was not placed correctly, it would be better later in the course, let's say, maybe your students don't study primary sources at your school until, after the first semester, and you don't want them to encounter it too soon or they might get nervous. You can just drag, I'm not going to actually do it because I don't want to change this course, but you see how it works. You can drag the item and drop it wherever you want to make it appear, whatever is best for your students. You can also hide material. So let's say, I know you're all in Georgia, so this doesn't come up maybe for you as much. We see with international customers that they want to hide our material on copyright because it's not relevant to them, because it's about US copyright. But for some reason, there might be something within here that you think is not quite right for your students or not right at the moment, and you only want to reveal it later on. Or sometimes you might think that a certain quiz has been taken many times by students and you'll retire it for a while and then bring it back. you can always hide and unhide items in here. And that's done by using this little configure option here. And you'll use the visibility option to, right now it's show the entire subsection. You can choose hide instead, and then students won't see that item at all. I'm going to cancel. I'm always nervous. I'm going to change our course for everybody. What else should I tell you about this here? Since you don't have it yet, I can't show you, but we have obviously all of our databases and resources have usage statistics. So if you did subscribe to this, you'd be able to see how often students have used the material. So for example, if you include a video in here on primary sources at your library, you'd be able to go in and see who had used that video and how often. So if you have, we'll say, an elective at school about primary sources, and students were required to watch the video that you have made or to watch our video that you get, you'd be able to see who had done their homework, so to speak. Another use case might be if you have a repository of primary sources at your library, you could use, as part of a display in the library, you could have our video playing on a computer in there, and then you would be able to get the usage stats for that. So you'd be able to show how successful your exhibit had been using stats from Credo InfoLit Core. And you can also see if students take any assessments, there's quizzes. So one of the quizzes is about types of sources. So in classes, if students study primary sources and then the instructor or yourselves in the library classes, if you require them to take a quiz at the end of learning about the sources, you'd be able to see their grades. Not just for that piece, but you can see grades overall for quizzes that students take in here. Lisa, do you think there's anything I've missed that I should mention in here?
No, why don't we bring up the assignment that you
Okay.
created? Yep. Do you have the link, or do you want me to?
Well, I have the item open. Can you see it
It
now?
says, yeah, it says Credo Information Literacy Core at the top, but it's just kind of a branding thing. So go ahead, Etta.
Thanks. So this is an assignment we put together that is related to primary sources. I feel like I've never said the phrase primary source so much in my life as today. So here's just a little introduction to what Credo InfoLit Core is. It's the item I just showed you with the videos, tutorials, and quizzes. And scrolling down a bit, I created a short assignment that, as I mentioned before, it could be part of a larger course on research skills, or it could be used as just one discrete assignment that you give students who are learning about primary sources. And it refers to the Credo material. So the first step is for students to watch the video on types of sources that I briefly showed you. And the idea is that they would watch it as a flipped learning module. So they would have that, I think it was a 4-minute video to watch as homework. And then you tell them here that they watch the video and note if it brings up any questions for them. Is there anything that's puzzling or that they wanted more information about? And they should be ready to discuss it when they come to class next time. And then the next step is for them to take the tutorial that I showed you on primary, secondary, tertiary sources, and then to find a primary source. So in an information literacy class or in a regular class, you or the instructor could show them one of the databases that Lisa showed or another database that you have, and they would learn how to find a primary source in there. And then they're expected in this assignment to actually find a primary source and be ready to discuss that and show that in class, and bring to class a reflection on what they found. So as I mentioned here, they should be ready to discuss any issues they encountered in finding the source. Was it hard to find one in general, or was it easy to find primary source in general, but not ones on your topic? Maybe you need to refine your topic. That's something else that's covered in Credo. Students, as you know, always choose topics that are way too broad. So we have a video in there on how to narrow down your topic to something that's manageable. Sorry about my colleague's cell phone. And I can't scroll down further, it's stuck. But that's it. And we will put a link in the chat on that gives you access to this resource. I was just thinking as well that we have a Word version that I can provide you. If you don't have a way to edit PDFs, you might want a Word version of this instead, and I can always provide that to you. And my contact information will be on a slide that we're about to show at the end here.
And I just want to add also with Credo Reference, the reference database that I showed you, and with InfoLit Core, back before Credo was acquired by Infobase, Etta and I both came from Credo. And kind of our little motto was a competitor is someone you haven't learned how to work with yet, right? So it was always kind of a requirement for us to figure out how we can best work with the other vendors that you guys work with so that we're not constantly in silos. And both InfoLit and Credo Reference has functionality that allows you to include resources from other vendors or free sources. So just as Etta embedded or linked to Credo Reference content in InfoLit, she could have very easily linked to EBSCO content or ProQuest or YouTube content. There's really no limit to what you can add in Information Literacy Core. With Credo Reference, we allow you to continue searching in other resources. So you'd run a search on Michelangelo, see all kinds of Credo Reference content, and then links to related content from EBSCO or GALE or wherever. So we always want to make sure that we understand that you have many, many different resources that you lean on and really trust, and you want to be able to include them in as many places as possible. I just put the link to the PDF that Etta shared in the chat, and I'm going to share my screen one more time. Do you want to stop sharing, Etta? And I'll just bring up our final screen here, if I can remember where it is. There it is. You see my screen, Etta?
No, I see a blank.
All right,
Blank. It says you've started screen sharing, but it's still just blank.
Strange. 1 second, guys. Let me bring this up. There it is. Share.
Well, it's our email addresses, right? So I can
Yeah,
just put those in the chat instead.
Yeah, hold on a second. I know it's here somewhere. Let me just bring this up. Sorry, I'm going to share a different. I'll just do my whole desktop. I was trying to share just a tab, but that didn't work. So I'll do the desktop.
Yeah, I see it now.
Slideshow. All right. And so this is how to contact me if you have any questions, how to contact Etta if you have any questions, or if you'd like to receive the Word document version, the editable Word document version of that PDF. If you guys have any questions, please put them into the chat. And thank you all for coming and spending this time with us today. We appreciate it.
I saw some questions in the chat already.
Yes, so there is a question about which InfoBase products are part of GALILEO. And so I think that's actually, I don't know if that's a GALILEO person question or a question for you all, because I think it depends on.
I can address that.
Okay.
The deal we have with GALILEO, or the arrangement, is that you have everyone has access to our product called Films on Demand Master Academic Collection, and then other databases are opt-in. So the ones that we showed today, you can get those through GALILEO, but they're not. Everyone doesn't have them automatically through the statewide deal. But if you were wondering which database your school has already subscribed to, you could contact me and I can let you know what you have now or what you might have subscribed to in the past. And if there's something that you wanted to get that you don't already have, then you would contact GALILEO. Any other? Oh, I see more new messages. Oh, thank you. Someone put a list to the statewide databases.
Thank you, Lucy.
And I see lots of thank yous. You're welcome. Any other questions?
All right. Well, thank you all, and thank you for inviting us or allowing us to speak here. Hope you stay cool wherever you are. I understand it's really hot down there. And again, just thank you for your time today.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.